Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday's edition of Let's Discuss. Today, after watching the news over the last few days and so forth, and based on some of the really good responses I got yesterday on the Who's Shaking Your Jar or the Jar, um, I actually saw another post this morning that I thought would be a good topic for us because it comes from one of my favorite authors, George Orwell, who wrote 1984 and um, Animal Farm, which, if you are of my tender age, you read those when you were in school. They don't teach those books anymore, unfortunately, in public school, and they really should, because I think that it's pertinent. As I actually, now that I think about it, I've mentioned this in a couple of videos where um, mentioned if you want to see what the current administration is going to do, if you want to know about their plan or what they're going to say or the excuse that they're going to make for something, if you want to know what that is ahead of time, then just reference back to the book 1984 because they're pretty much using it as their playbook. Um, but let me read you this quote because I think that this is pertinent to all of us. Again, I try to look at both sides. Um, I really want to be open minded. And again, if you watch the news in the morning, man, doesn't matter what channel you're watching, what news network you're watching, they're all biased. They're either biased to the left or they're biased to the right. And here we go. Here's the quote, and this is why I'm bringing it up today. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. George Orwell. Let me repeat that again because I want to make sure that you hear this and think about it. The more a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those that speak it. I think all of us can agree that when we hear the pundits or the politicians out there demonizing someone or some group um, today, uh, in many cases, not all cases, because on both sides of the aisle, there are zealots that speak propaganda, not the truth. Okay. The news has a really hard time speaking the truth. They're definitely, it's all propaganda. But whenever you see somebody on MSNBC, some commentator, or CNN, or for that matter, Fox News, okay, let's be honest here. When you see them start demonizing somebody, I think it's pertinent that we actually take efforts to really hear what this particular person is saying and find out whether what they are saying is backed up by facts. I think when we take the time to actually look at the truth, when we take the time to actually look at the facts on a particular news story, then we know, is it just propaganda or is somebody being demonized because they're speaking the truth and that commentator doesn't want you to know the truth? I'm going to digress to previous conversations and reference the book 1984, which George Orwell wrote. It's all about, they have the ministry of truth in that book. The lead character in that book works at the Ministry of Truth. At the Ministry of Truth in the book 1984, what they do every day is create what the truth is going to be. And it's all based on propaganda on what the regime wants the people to believe. And they actually go back and they change previous news stories that came out of the Ministry of Truth to fit whatever the agenda is of the administration on that particular day. And I highly encourage each and every one of you to read that book, okay? Because every day, regrettably, the U.S. drifts closer and closer and closer um, uh, to the country described in the book 1984. Okay. Um, the reason that I wanted to bring up this quote today is because we need to discuss this. We need to discuss what is the truth. What really instigated this for me personally today to bring this topic up is again going back to what we're seeing as far as propaganda about the Israeli war, and um, you have some of our own elected officials wanting to demonize the Israelis for defending themselves, and you know, and talking about how this is a terrible thing to do against Palestinian people, and you have this group of students from Harvard that have come out and stated, come out against Israel for attacking Gaza and demonizing these people are demonizing the Israelis and Netanyahu for their decisions, and it has everything to do with propaganda. It has nothing to do with the facts. It has nothing to do with what actually happened that caused the Israelis to react and declare war. If all we do is listen to the headlines on the news without investigating what the facts are, we fall prey to it. And we become a society that drifts away from truth to propaganda and agenda. Okay? And I fear that we keep going that direction here in the US because people don't want to take the time to actually investigate on their own what the facts are. I mean, there's a lot of sources out there, and they might all tell slightly different stories, but before you make a decision about what the truth is, you need to make sure that you've gotten the facts from more than one source and you've kind of put together in your head what the truth is. Because I get demonized because of my belief systems, not because of facts, but because of belief systems. Um, if you don't want to be demonized, one, you better have your facts straight. But also, we all need to be prepared, right? If we say something that the regime does not appreciate or like, we're going to get demonized. And we need to be strong in our convictions, right? Because a society, again, that strays from the truth will demonize those that speak it. So, regardless of which side of the aisle that you are on, let's make sure that we're dealing in truth. Let's not be afraid to speak the truth, even when it means that those with an agenda might demonize us. And we need to be able to tell the difference between the truth and propaganda. The headlines are propaganda. The truth, you have to dig for a little bit. Love to hear your opinions. I appreciate the feedback I got on yesterday's conversation about shaking the jar of ants. I think a lot of you got what what that um, what that video was all about and agree. Um, and I would love to get your feedback on this too. This is Let's Discuss. It's not just about my opinion. It's about my journey to understand better. And the more feedback I get and the more discussions that we have, the more I learn. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of those out there that participate in the discussions. I think we all learn a little bit. I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. I'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow with another Let's Discuss topic. And be blessed.